It just says fall, and I'm going to be honest with you. With the day and age in which we live, I'm not convinced it's coming out this year, which is why I'm not putting it like dead set at my number one.
Welcome to the Weekly Fix podcast, where we're just two friends talking about our passions within movies, TV shows, gaming, and comics. Thanks for checking out the podcast. We hope you like it. Hello and welcome back to Weekly Fix. We've got an exciting episode for you guys. Last week we talked all things movies 2025, and this week we're going to go through some of the top TV shows coming out in 2025, which we are excited about and cannot wait to watch. Now, we also have finished Creature Commandos. It had its finale last week, and we are very excited to kind of hear Jacob's thoughts on that because he hasn't broke down any of that. But before we jump into our show, Jacob, I want to ask, how are you doing? How was your weekend?
It's been great, man. Being able to catch up on some things this weekend. Like I said, or like you said, I got to finish Creature Commandos, which was super fun. Getting to sit down and watch like a brand new show, which is always fun. Anytime you have like something you haven't got to watch, you've been waiting for, and especially if it's like one that's actually binge worthy that you can just sit down and listen or watch through, those are always fun. I was also able to finish up Squid Game season 2, which was really fun. So actually lots of show watching for me, which is a little bit out of the ordinary. Usually I don't watch a ton of shows, like it's like binge watch them like I did this week. Usually I only do like weekly release stuff and go from there. But yeah, I got to watch a lot of shows this week. Obviously lots more of Marvel Rivals was played. We just had the new season come out where we got Invisible Girl, Mr. Fantastic. We got some new maps, so that's been super fun. Getting back ranked up and all those things. Always love a season restart in a video game that I'm into. Kind of gives you a little extra motivation to keep playing and see if you can get back or get a little higher than you were in the previous season. So it's been a great week for me so far.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Marvel Rivals, I didn't know they had a new season, so that's exciting. Yeah, it's always fun when new content comes out, new drops. It always just seems to spark a little bit more intrigue to play the game and kind of gives you a fresh start, so that's fun. But see, Squid Game season 2, how was that for you? How does that compare to season 1?
It wasn't as good as season 1. I will go ahead and preface it with that, but that doesn't mean it wasn't good. I think the big thing, like the most exciting part about Squid Game when you watch it for the first time, especially if you watched it when it came out like I did, you really had no idea what it was about. Like I remember when I heard about it, I've said this many times, me and my wife were on our honeymoon, and it was like the last night of our honeymoon. We were like, oh, what are we could watch something on the airplane ride home tomorrow. And we were looking through Netflix and stuff like that, and it had like so many, it was like the number one trending thing on Netflix, and I was like, what in the world is this all about? So we started watching it, and we just blew our minds. Like we had no expectations for it, had no idea what to expect, and it was something so different than anything we had ever watched. So I think that's one reason why I think the first season is especially better, in my opinion, is because there were no expectations. You didn't know what it was going to be about, so there was so much excitement and so much fun stuff there. But season 2, you do know what's kind of going on. You kind of have an idea on it, so you are going to have to rely a lot more on the storytelling. I am one of those people that I really don't know necessarily that this show needed a second season. Now, I'm happy it got one. I think the second season was still really good, but this is one of those things that, like, if it would have just been left at one season, I think this could have been like one of those like shows of all time, like those limited series that people always talk about, like, oh, remember how great that Squid Games was. So I'm still super happy we got one, but it doesn't have that same excitement level that the first season have. And they did obviously leave it with a cliffhanger, so there's going to be another season, so we're going to get 3 seasons of Squid Game, but they did also say that there will only be 3 seasons. So I think it's good that they have a story that they want to tell. I am excited to see where it goes, but all in all, I think it was really fun. Just not quite as good as the first season for those reasons that I listed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a pretty good review, especially with how much you like the first season. I know you were worried about them tainting the brand a little bit, but it doesn't sound like they did that. And also really good that you don't have to wait super long because that's releasing this year, which is super exciting for you.
Which I didn't know, and I at the end of the last episode, they actually say, like, I think they said Squid Games will return in 2025, and it's like, holy cow, like, in today's day and age, that's, like, unheard of that you get the next season, like, less than a year later, so I think that's really, really cool, and that's probably one of the reasons why I am, like, still so excited about it, is because, like, I know this isn't going to be as long of a wait as the first season in between now and then was, so I think that's really cool that they're able to accomplish that.
Yeah, that is very good. And really, we need to get back to that junk. Like we do not need these years and years between TV shows. It's ridiculous. So I will happily join in with anyone who is putting out yearly TV shows. I like that a lot better.
Yeah, we're going to get to a show here later on that we're going to be talking about in our breakdown that have had some crazy long breaks in between. So it is really cool that there are still
Ugh.
really good, high quality shows that can still get that out there and get stuff put out. And I think a lot of the time, it doesn't only come down to like directors and stuff like that. I think these actors really do overload themselves sometimes, and they pick up so many projects and stuff like that. They really just don't simply have the time for it. So I think it's cool that these actors in particular, this is what they're known for. This is their bread and butter. So they're excited to continue with this story, while they're still young enough. And, we're not going to have crazy makeup and stuff to make them look like they used to.
Yeah, no, for sure. But, well, do you want to jump right into our list?
Yeah, man, let's get into it.
So last week we did month by month, and it did take a little bit of time. The problem with shows is that their actual release date isn't as confirmed as anything. So the first few months is very confirmed, very solid for when they're releasing. But as we get later, these months may switch around. They may release early. They may push them off a little bit. So just take that with a grain of salt. As we talk about later, some of these may say releasing in the fall. Like they don't even have a date yet. So we're going to just throw those in September or whatever. So, just bear with us. If we get a date wrong, don't stone us in, 7 months. Just, understand that these do change. So, but some of the things that won't change is the first upcoming shows because those are set in stone. So January, there's only 2 shows, but one's right around the corner. That's this Friday. I cannot wait for that. And that is Severance. Jacob, what's your feeling on Severance?
So I've not watched the first season of it, but this is actually something with how much you've talked about it recently and how excited you are for this second season. I think me and my wife this Friday are going to sit down and watch the very first season, or at least start on it. I don't know how far we'll get into it. But I guess Friday is the release date of the second season. So hopefully we can get caught up with you and we can talk about it here some on the podcast. But we do plan on starting the first season. And I'm excited, again, something I've never watched before. I really don't have any expectations for it. I know nothing about it. I know nothing about the story other than the small things that you've told me. So I am really excited to get started with this. And I think a lot of people are excited for season 2.
Yeah, season 1 was such a great mystery. Had no clue what was going on. Was jumped right into it because somebody said it was really good and I need to watch it. And so I took their recommendation and ran with it. And I was really glad I did. At first, I wanted to dip out, so it is a little bit of a slow start. So hang in there, Jacob. Don't dip. Trust me, it does get better.
If someone isn't getting shot or there's no fist fight in the first 30 seconds, I might be. I'm just kidding, but
no one takes one to the back of the head. So you will have to, you'll have to wait a little bit for some action.
I'll imagine it.
It is a wonderful concept to deliver, and everyone says that it is killing on the ratings. I think second season has pulled like a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, which again we don't like, but hey, that's pretty good, especially for a second season of a show. So I am excited, cannot wait to watch Severance season 2.
Now I have heard, is there supposed to be a third season that's like already confirmed for this show?
I don't believe we have a third season confirmed yet, but that would be like Apple's prerogative. They generally do greenlight these very expensive shows before they actually have anything like bought for it. So, but yes, so does not look like it has a third season confirmed yet, but I'm assuming this probably will get a third, but that's just my guess. So, but yeah, Severance, super excited for this one. I love that we are starting off the season with such a great show, potentially. I don't know if it's great yet. Can't speak to it. But it's first season, really love. So excited for season 2 of that. The second one is Spider-Man, the animated show on Disney Plus. Now, Jacob, last time we talked about this, you hadn't seen the trailer on the podcast. We talked a little bit off air, and you actually said you loved the animation and that it almost excited you more. Where are you sitting with this one coming out? I think 29th of this month.
Yeah, I'm still super pumped for this. I think anytime we get a new Spider-Man project, it's really exciting for me. Spider-Man being my favorite Marvel superhero. But I just think I really did enjoy the animation. I'm interested to see like what type of story we get with it. And I'm interested to see if it like makes like an impact in other areas of like the Spider-Verse or something like that. I don't know if this is going to be something that they're just wanting to do, but I just don't see Marvel really putting out something like that with like literally zero impact, especially if it is a Spider-Man property. You kind of would probably want it to have some sort of impact elsewhere. in the MCU, maybe potentially or something like that. So I'm super excited just to kind of see how this story goes and how it develops. But no, overall, I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, I'm glad you're excited for it. I am not. I don't think this is going to have any impact whatsoever on the MCU. I think this is complete standalone, not need to watch. And man, I have zero desire to watch this show. It's crazy how little I want to watch this show. This may be one that I wait. Like I wait to see if I watch it,
Yeah,
which
I think
seems crazy.
yeah, for me, it's Spider-Man. Like I'm gonna watch it, probably like anything that they come out with Spider-Man related. But no, I think it's got potential. I just love Spider-Man. So like any cool stories and stuff like that that they want to do, I'm excited to see. It looks like they're taking some different directions with the villains, maybe making them look a little different. Maybe they'll have some different backgrounds and things like that, which I've talked about it time and time again. We have like all the Ultimate Universe and the Absolute Universe in DC going on right now, and that's exactly what they're doing. And I'm kind of hoping this is a little bit of that. Maybe some reimagining of the hero. Maybe they have some different background and different character traits and stuff like that. So I think that could be really fun.
Yeah, and it does look like they got some cool suits that they're going to display, and like you said, some villain character arcs that may be switching up or different. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the animation style is just I hate the way it flows. It does not look good to me. So, but anyway, no, Spider Man, your friendly neighborhood Spider Man does not look like a good TV show for me. I'm hoping I am wrong.
Yeah, I hope
But
so too, because I hope it is good.
no. But that's all we have. And again, this is not even close to an extensive list for the entire year of what all comes out. There's so much TV that gets put on streaming now that there's no way we could encompass them. But this is all of our shows that we are personally interested in and or comic book / video game TV shows. So that we found. So popping into February, Invincible season 3. How are you feeling, Jacob? It's here. We're
Yeah,
closing
this
in.
might be the big one of the year for me. Like I'm so pumped for this show to come back. I'm so excited that by all accounts, there's no mid-season break. I think they've definitely confirmed that. So that's got me even more excited. I just love this. I love it. Invincible has just become like my favorite show. I just, well, you know, everything. Every time we talk about Invincible, I get a smile on my face. It's just so fun. It's such a good story. I love the characters. I just can't wait for this one. I think we're really going to get rolling as if we haven't been already. I feel like this show has done a really good job pacing wise, you know, from season 1 into season 2. There's never really been like a slowdown or anything like that. It's just been a really fun, fast paced story. But I even think they're about to pick it up a notch, which has got me super excited. Seems like everything's fallen into place for Mark to really start to develop his power level. We've even talked about it in the trailer, how they said his power levels have increased like some crazy percentage. So I think we're really going to get to start to see like a fully realized Mark, which is going to be really, really awesome.
Yeah, and we talked about it so much. I honestly don't even think I need to comment on it because I'm so excited for Invincible. Man, those weekly drops get me so amped, and I cannot wait to watch them. There's some weekly drops, even like Creatures Commando, where it was like, oh, it's Thursday, I'm excited to watch it, but then something comes up and I don't get around to it. You know, Chelsea's not into it, so we're not watching it together. So I have to find time by myself. No, Invincible drops, we're watching it that night. Like I don't care how late I have to stay up, what else is going on. I'm gonna watch it that night. So I cannot wait for Invincible to be back on my TV screen, and that's gonna be such a fun show to continue.
Yeah, Invincible is one of those shows like you're willing to lose sleep over. Like it's not a hard decision. Like I'm staying up. I'll go into work a little more tired than usual tomorrow. I got to see what happens. So I would venture to say this might even be one of your definitely probably your top 3 most anticipated shows of this year.
Oh man, I will say this year is slammed with good shows. But yes, I just really like, and also it's by far my favorite animated show
Mm-hmm.
of this year coming out. So yeah, this probably makes it in number, oof, probably number 3. Ugh. Yeah, probably number 3 for me.
It's
It's
tough.
tough. It is so tough because there's so much good coming out. And talking about so much good, the second show coming out in February on the 20th is Reacher season 3, which I just have such a fun time with. I know it's not the highest quality of acting and show, and there's some plot and some convenience. But man, I love to overlook it when it's Reacher. It's so much fun. And that trailer got me amped. I think it looks so much better from the actual trailer instead of the teaser trailer, which I don't think we actually got to talk about on the show, but that trailer did a lot more justice than the teaser trailer did.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I already told you, even though we don't really have an idea of what's going to happen, I'm already more interested in what's going to happen in this season than what did happen in season 2. I've talked about my problems that I had with season 2, but season 3 feels a lot more grounded, feels like it's going to make a lot more sense. A lot of these things are going to play out a lot more fun. So I'm super excited for this show. I don't necessarily know that it's in my top 3 for this year. I know you liked season 2 a lot more than I did, and that's not saying I didn't like season 2, but this is one of those shows that, like, we talk about, like, the crazy action stuff and the stuff that doesn't make sense happening. This is, again, one of those shows I love it for that. You know, you just talked about how you're able to sometimes even put it aside when it's Reacher, like the convenience factor and the plot holes and all that stuff, just because of what it is. These are my type of shows. Like, I love those action scenes. I love that stuff just happens just because, of course, it's going to happen, right? It's Reacher. So this is a fun show. I'm excited to see where season 3 goes, and I'm excited to see how big of an impact. You know, season 1 didn't have as big of an impact on what happened in season 2, and I'm wondering if they continue that in the season 3, where, like, the previous season really isn't, like, you can almost watch these shows without having watched the first season and still really have a good time. So I'm wondering if they continue that trend, or if they maybe do a little more callbacks to the previous season than they have in the past.
I think it definitely looked like it was going to go the path of what you just said previous. I think it will completely be standalone.
Mm-hmm.
There will obviously be ties and things that you will pick up from the previous seasons, but I think it's a fully encompassed story, and that's some of what's so fun about Reacher, is that it is a fully encompassed story, and you don't have to continue, like, okay, like, where do we just pick up, wait, who is that? Especially in the, we just talked about how many TV shows are coming out. It is fun sometimes to just be able to sit and enjoy what's in front of you without having to constantly consider everything that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know we have a podcast about this stuff, and we love to data log everything that's going in and the shows and theorize and think about it. And that's a lot of fun for us, but I also get to see it through the eyes of my wife, who does not enjoy that. She's like, man, I wonder what it would be like for you to just sit down and watch a show. Because I'm always thinking, like, oh, that wasn't very good. I can't believe they did this. Or, man, that was amazing because this affected this, which affected that. And she's like, it was on TV and I really enjoyed it. And so, there's a lot of viewers out there that have that mentality. And I think this show really hits it home for them.
Yeah, it's a perfect just pick up and go show, and we need those. I think nowadays the MCU has done a lot of good for TV shows and movies and stuff like that, but it's also kind of done a lot of bad. I feel like everyone's trying to replicate that in a sense. Like, people want to know, like, everything's connected, everything's tied together. So it's nice when we still get shows that just kind of put all that aside and they do those all-encompassing stories in one season, like you just talked about. Those are super needed and sometimes almost more important than the things that are always connecting, because it always shows a different level of, like, I'm forgetting the word right now, like, it's just good to have those type of shows, and not having to have everything tied together.
Yeah, you don't rely on nostalgia or the successes of other shows to bring in viewership. Your story writing in and of itself has to be good enough to bring in the viewers. So that's February for us. So we got 2 good ones coming out, and then March, number 1 anticipated show for me of the year is dropping on March 4th, and that is Daredevil Born Again, which had some controversy. It has some question marks. Where are we going to pick up? What is going to happen? But it is still Daredevil coming back to the home screen, getting to see Charlie Cox back in the Daredevil outfit. Jacob, I know this probably doesn't reach number 1 for you, but does it crack your top 5 for this year, or top 3?
I would definitely say it does crack my top 5. I think the exciting thing about this show in particular, it's kind of funny, is I saw this clip the other day on Twitter or X, and it was like the only good thing that came from Echo, and it was that one scene we had Daredevil in, and they were just talking about, in, like, the comment section, everyone was talking about how excited they are just for Daredevil to be back. We're going to see Punisher, just so many of those beloved characters that people have been dying to see again. We're finally going to have him back. I think there's going to be a really fun story here. this is one of those things that we talk about a lot that we really enjoy. Is for Marvel, it doesn't always have to be these otherworldly enemies and stuff like that. It is really good to just have those street level crime, and that's what I'm super excited for. So this is definitely a top 5 show for me, and I'm super excited just to see how it goes, what impact, because we know it's going to have an impact on the MCU in some sort of way, I'm sure. So I'm excited to see what kind of impact it has, but how well of a job are they going to be able to do to keep it grounded, to keep it street level, but still make it feel really important.
Yeah, and grounded, he has to be grounded. Daredevil can't be galactic unless he's, wielding Heimdall's sword. But I'm very excited for this. I'm still surprised we haven't got a trailer.
Yeah, like an official.
Because we got the What's Coming to Disney Plus trailer, which had a bunch of Daredevil Born Again footage, and it was a semi-trailer, but not even a teaser. Like, we haven't had a full trailer for this thing. It's coming out in March. That's insane. Like, that's crazy. So I'm curious why.
Does that raise red flags for you?
It doesn't. I think they're just holding it tight. I don't think they need it. So they probably need to spend that marketing on Captain America Winter Soldier where they're actually going to try to make some money. And so they're probably not putting a ton of marketing into Daredevil as they think it'll probably get the viewership. They may do a Super Bowl ad for it.
Well, no, that would actually be pretty cool, and that does feel kind of fitting. But I personally think, this is obviously getting away from it a little bit. I think that the Super Bowl trailer for Marvel is a big swing, and it could be a big swing and a miss. It's going to be Fantastic Four.
There's a high probability.
Yeah, so I hope that's the case. But I could see them throwing in a little trailer. I feel like this maybe would fit more along the lines of like maybe an AFC, like when they have their AFC NFC championship games. Maybe this fits in a little bit more of that than a Super Bowl ad. But I could be wrong. But I'm excited to see an actual trailer for this one. It does. I'm not necessarily. I feel the same way as you. I don't think they've needed to market it yet because it's just word of mouth. People are so excited for what it is and stuff. But I am a little bit like, what is there something that they're trying to still figure out? Like, are they not happy with something? So I'm hoping it's none of those things. I hope it's just they don't feel like they need to start marketing yet, and they're really just waiting to hammer us with it when we get a little bit closer. But no, I'm super pumped for this one. I think it's going to be a fantastic show and hopefully a return to form for Marvel a little bit.
Yeah, and I think it would be kind of crazy if they put the trailer in the theatrical release of Captain America 4.
They definitely could. I could see that too.
That would be pretty unique to do a TV show trailer during a movie theater experience, which they don't generally ever do.
Unless somehow Captain America is going to have an impact on Daredevil. Maybe that's the thing we're forgetting. Maybe there's some way going to be some connection there, and that would be like a cool little thing to do. I doubt it too, but maybe you never know.
Yeah, that would be crazy. But all right, so that's all I have for March, which is probably worthy for us. That is going to be a very busy month for us, but April is just as busy. I mean, it looks like a great year of TV. So, Last of Us Season 2 is dropping. Now, Jacob, have you seen Last of Us?
I've not watched the first season, no.
Okay, so I hadn't either, but I knew it was coming up. Me and Chelsea finished a show last week, and I said, hey, let's pop on Last of Us. I think, it has crazy good ratings. Let's just see what it is. I know it's coming out with the season 2, and I'm kind of excited for it. Boy, it's a good show, dude. It is a good show. My wife cannot wait to watch the next episode. She has a very Penguin-esque anticipation for this. And so just because she loves it so much, I am having just the best time with it. So, and we're only 4 episodes in. So we finished the 4th episode. We are looking for the rest of the season. So we got, 6 left? I think there's 9 episodes. So very exciting time. We will be watching. And they're all top rated. Like, every episode is like a 9 or above, which is crazy. It's so good. So very solid show so far, and I because I'm having such a good time with this, I'm very excited for Last of Us Season 2.
Yeah, I absolutely love the video games. I thought the video games are some of my favorite games I've ever played. So I need to get into the show. I don't know why I never watched them when they were coming out. I think it was one of those things I was like, oh, I'll get to it at some point. But it just never got around to it. So I'll need to pick up on it. Hopefully, I'll be caught up by the season 2 release. I'm interested to see if the story changes any from the game because I know there's been some rumblings that they're going to change some things and whatnot. But I'm interested to see how it goes.
Yeah, and I never played the video games. And the reason I didn't watch it when it came out was I just didn't have Max. I just didn't have HBO Max, so I just didn't watch it. I was like, oh, I'll get it and then I'll get to it. And then something else comes out and you're watching other stuff and
Gets added to
75
that
shows are
backlog.
getting released immediately and it just gets added to the back burner. So I'm glad we prioritize it. I'm glad it's, we're working our way through it currently. So it is a little rougher. It is definitely a hard TVMA. So just a heads up if any viewers out there are about to turn it on without, checking the parental guide for yourself. Definitely no children around while watching. But yeah, very good zombie show. So, and then probably another top three anticipation. Andor season 2 is dropping in April. Jacob, you're a big lover of Andor. You've wish-washed back and forth whether it's the best or not. It's currently setting in second for you. How excited are you for this season 2 to drop?
So let me preface. I do think it is the best Star Wars show. It is not my favorite Star Wars show. So I do think it technically, as far as like acting, story, all that stuff, I do think it's the best. I just
Right,
don't think
yeah.
it's not my favorite. So this is my number 3 most anticipated show of the year. I'm pumped for this one to finally be back on the screen. I've heard some things about like the budget and stuff for like this one. They're fully invested in Andor, which is fantastic. I'm so happy to see that Disney knows that this is a big project for them. They know how well received the first season was. One of my favorite things to say about Andor is how like not only like was it a big thing for the fan base that fans love it, but it was also very critically acclaimed, which you don't usually see a lot of the time with Star Wars shows. A lot of the time, they don't get the love that they might deserve for certain things just because it has that IP tied to it. So this is one that was just so good that they couldn't avoid it, and I'm super pumped to just continue this storyline. The premise of it is going to be really interesting. How like each episode for like the beginning of the show is going to be like 4 years at a time. I think that's going to be super cool. And I'm super excited to see how they balance that because that's a lot of content. That's a lot of pushing the boundaries. There's a lot of fast paced stuff happening. So I'm super excited for that. I think it's going to be really fun. But no, this is my third most anticipated of the year. I'm so pumped for this one.
Yeah, no, this is definitely my, in top 5. It's bouncing. It's really hard to put this one, above one of the other ones that we have coming up. But I think with how much I like it's fourth. And there's a reason it's fourth, and that's because my wife could not get into it. I just love watching TV with her, and I really enjoy it. So the fact that she couldn't get into it does diminish it, but it doesn't lower my excitement for it. It's just I know that it's not going to be like as fun of a viewing experience for me because she's not going to be like fully invested. So Andor season 2 for me, I cannot wait for it, but it is my fourth most anticipated, with Daredevil
Yeah,
being 1, Invincible being 3, and Andor being 4.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this one. It's just got like it's got the potential, man. It's got so much riding on it as
Mm.
well. I know we've talked about like how you haven't been as big of a fan of Skeleton Crew as I have, but like widely it's been pretty well received. I know it doesn't have as great of views as most people have expected a Star Wars show to have, but I think it's been a really good show to kind of start us to get back on pace, and that's going to be the show that all eyes are on. Like people really after Acolyte, I think fell off the Skeleton Crew hype. They're like, oh, I don't want another Acolyte. People know what to expect from Andor. So I think this is going to be a really big one. Yeah, this is awesome. I think 4 is a good spot for you too. I could see the other shows that you have above this list on this list, and it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard with so many good shows coming out, so many things that we're excited for, to put them all into, and then it may come out in the wash completely different. Daredevil may
Yep.
be a complete bust for me. I may not enjoy the storyline they give us at all because I am so invested in the character, and it's a high potential. I don't see Andor getting messed up as much for me, honestly. But we'll see. But Andor, I cannot wait for that. Super good.
Yes.
So the next one on our list, it doesn't have an official release date, but it does say summer. And we didn't have another show in May, so I'm just going to drop this one here, and that's The Bear season 4. I started watching The Bear. Uh, it is a high level television show. However, I really can't recommend it to too many people because it is just like anxiety inducing vulgarity with the cursing. So I haven't been able to make it all the way through season 2 of the show. There's some really good cinematography, great camera work, amazing acting, really really solid. But it's not one that I have to watch. And I know a lot of people just have to watch The Bear, like they really really like it. It did not grip me as hard as it gripped a lot of people. So this one is really not super exciting for me, but it is something that I do will probably watch in the future.
Yeah, I've never watched any of the other season. It's kind of been one of those things I've never been super excited for, so I don't have too much to say about it. But I've heard all the same things you've said. People really do love it, so I'm interested to see if the reviews continue to be as good for it as they have been in the past.
Yeah, and it probably will. Season 3 was a little low, so in the reviews for accolades and everything. So we'll see how it does in season 4. But moving right along, June we got Ironheart, which is the new uh, season. I get not new season, new show for Disney Plus. We're getting to meet a new character that we've only been introduced in one show. How do you feel about Ironheart coming out?
I think this is one of those shows I don't have very high expectations for. I hate to say this, but I have more like Echo vibes for this show that I would like to have. I could see this really being like a crash and burn show, but I could also see this being like a really kind of like surprise, like, oh, that was actually a pretty good fun watch. I'm hoping it's that, obviously. We just haven't heard much about this one. It's kind of been one of those things that we've heard about and then we hear bad things about. Like, there's been so much back and forth, and we talk about it all the time when we hear like these negative press releases and stuff. Like, are they really accurate? Captain America Brave New World has been one of those things that we were really excited about. We had some high expectations for, and just over the like time as we get more and more bad releases and bad statements, bad announcements for it, we start to get a little bit more concerned about it. So that's kind of where I'm with this one. It's almost that they've been so quiet on it. I feel like there's not much good that could come of it, but it does have potential. I know you in particular really liked Ironheart and Wakanda Forever. So I'm excited. I like the design. I like the idea. The little things that I have heard about it does sound interesting, but it's not like a top tier show for me this year.
Yeah, Ironheart Ryu Williams was one of the best parts of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, in my opinion. I really loved her addition to it. I like the actress. I think she is really good. Dominique Thorne, she kills it in this character. She has so much charisma and charm that she can carry every scene that she steps into. I like Anthony Ramos, who is going to be her supporting actor. So I think it has potential. The big problem I have with this, you were talking about bad press junkets with Captain America, but the problem I have with Ironheart is that this was supposed to release before
Mhm.
Wakanda Forever, which has been released, now three years ago. So that in and of itself really really hurts it. This has been in delay nightmare. So it
Mhm.
doesn't mean it's going to be bad, but it doesn't mean it's going to be great either. So I hope this isn't one that they just have to put out because they're putting it out, but because it's actually good. Like, I know you have a finished show, but if it's not good, don't put it out. Don't wreck the brand. So I don't necessarily think that's what this is. I am excited to watch it, but I do have my guard way up for this one.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Delay a show, delay a video game, literally delay whatever you have to if that's what it's going to take to get it right. I don't care if it's rushed. I don't want it to be rushed. I don't care if I have to delay on it. Kind of said the same thing with the Batman too. If they don't know the direction they want to go with it, they don't know the exact story they want to tell, take your time and actually figure those things out so you're not just putting something out that doesn't make sense. So again, I don't like delays. Obviously, I don't think anyone does. They're very frustrating. But like you said, if that's what's going to take to make it a success, I'm all for it.
Oh yeah. So we have now this is one that I have mixed feelings about, probably more than any other on this list, and that is The Witcher season 4. Have you seen The Witcher?
Yes.
Okay, now you've seen all 3 seasons.
Yes, I think we've talked about it.
Okay. I was just curious. How are you feeling about the character swap?
Yeah, this is the only reason this isn't a top five for me this year because I loved the first few seasons. I thought they were so good. It was such a fun story. That's why this show has kind of fallen off a little bit for me. I am definitely still going to watch it because I'm interested to see where the story continues to go. But man, am I disappointed for what could potentially happen here. I just want it to be so good. Like I love this show so much. It's so fun, but I am so nervous about what it's going to actually end up being.
Yeah, I just don't know how much faith I have in Liam Hemsworth. I'm going to be
Hmm.
honest. They carry Cavill just really, really killed it.
Born
Like,
for the role.
I, yeah, I mean, he really pours his heart and soul into these characters that he get cast to, and then he just gets shafted, which is crazy. It's like, come on, man, like give the man a break. Like, stay with the source material and something. Like,
Yeah.
give the man a role he can dive into. He wants to play it. Come on,
He's not asking for much, really, if you think about it.
it's ridiculous,
It is
dude.
crazy.
So anyway, it does. I do have a little bit of hindrance because of that. So we'll see what they do with Witcher season 4. Uh, season 3 wasn't the best. I don't think it captured the fun of the first season quite as much. So we'll see what they do with it. Excited for it. I'll probably be tuning in until I don't. Right, until if it turns out to be bad. The good thing is they all drop at once generally with this,
Yes.
so that does make it a little bit easier to get through some of that garbage that they do release. So we'll see. So I probably will have to watch a recap video though, because season 3, I don't remember much about it. I'm gonna be honest.
I just remember being disappointed with it being Henry Cavill's last season. So,
Yeah, I just don't
um,
think he had a good send off.
no, I don't feel like he did either. But at the same time, if you're going to try to just seamlessly incorporate someone, they don't need to do some big crazy send off because it doesn't make sense for the show, really. Like, you don't want to have them like do some blaze of glory thing, right? You want it to make sense for the show. So I wasn't necessarily upset with how they did it. Obviously, you would like maybe a little bit more like, respect given to him and what he's done for the show. But no, I want this to continue to be good because I have enjoyed it so far. And this is another one. The games are really, really good. So I hope this one continues to, surprise me. I hope I'm pleasantly surprised by this one.
Yeah, and one that will have to be pleasantly surprising to perform well, and that is Eyes of Wakanda. This is a mini series. It's not even like a full TV show, but they're going to explore Wakanda's warrior force, I believe. How are you feeling about Eyes of Wakanda?
So before I even say, as far as like animated stuff for you, are you more excited for this or Spider-Man?
This.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like I don't know where I'm at with this one. I haven't really heard a whole lot about it. I've heard some things that could be interesting for it. I always think, Black Panther is such an interesting character and stuff like that, and I love that world. So maybe just being able to see a little bit more of that is going to be really fun. I did recently hear that I think they've confirmed that they are getting ready to recast for the Black Panther, in anticipation for like some of these Avengers films coming out. So I think that's going to be really interesting to see if maybe this has some sort of like telling of how that's going to go down or what's going to happen there. But I'm interested for this one personally. I don't know that I'm more interested in it than Spider-Man just because I love Spider-Man so much. But I would say they're pretty close for me.
Okay. Yeah, the few animation shots that we did get in that Disney Plus trailer
Hmm.
looked significantly better animation style for what I prefer in an animation style. So that first off is a win for me. And then it does seem like it's going to be isolated stories of them trying to like recover vibranium or whatever those warriors are going to be doing. It's only 4 episodes. Seems like this one's going to be a good time, but completely inconsequential to most things. So, and there's nothing really dropping around it, which also has benefits it
Yeah, because by
greatly.
that time we'll have slowed down a little bit. Like you were talking about, February and March are going to be crazy, and then April, like those are just going to be months where we just continuously have like weekly releases of stuff. This is really kind of in that time. Like if The Witcher isn't good, Like, we really probably won't be keeping up with it as much. Ironheart might not have been too great, so we might have a sour taste in our mouth. So maybe this will just be another nothing burger for us, where we're kind of just like, it's all right, like it's on TV. But no, it's an interesting. That's going to be an interesting little period for us, because I feel like we have a lot more question marks than we have, periods for that one.
Yeah, and it's not bad because this is like the movie
It is,
stretch, the
yes.
big movie stretch. So we'll have plenty of stuff to talk about, plenty of stuff to watch. It just probably won't be TV shows, which is always fine for me. I'm always good to pick a movie, do a review, do a rating or something, and not have to talk about a show that's dropping weekly. But this one looks fun, but not near as fun as the next one, and that's Stranger Things season 5. This is my second anticipated show of the year. I cannot wait for the culmination of this series. Jacob, this may be your favorite show of all time. I believe this is number 1 for you, right? In
Yeah,
anticipation.
this is that 1 or 2 for me with Invincible. That's the reason why I don't have them, set in stone, because I don't even think we have an official release date
It
for
just says
this one.
fall.
It just says fall, and I'm gonna be honest with you. With the day and age in which we live, I'm not convinced it's coming out this year, which is why I'm not putting it like dead set at my number 1. I would not be surprised if they like want to delay it for some reason. I know they wrapped filming on it, so I don't think it should get delayed for any particular reason, because usually that's when we see the delays, is when there's filming issues and stuff like that. But until we have like a set in stone date, I'm gonna be a little more reserved on saying it's my most anticipated show of the year. But man,
Okay.
this is a big one. I mean, talk about something that's going to get people watching TV. That's going to be the talk of the town for probably, a month or so at least, because again, with Netflix, they do release everything all at once. I wouldn't be surprised if for this one they said, "Hey, we're going to do weekly releases just to kind of keep that subscription up for a little bit for those times." They're going to want to keep those views for that month going. I'm pumped for this one. This is a big one. This is as big as television gets, in my opinion. I mean, this is a big story that's coming to a close. I think 5 seasons is a perfect runtime for something like this.
Yeah. Do you think they're going to split it, part 1 and part 2, like they did season 4?
I personally, I don't think they will do that. I think that's really bad to do with a final season. I would hope they would like, that's where my concern of a delay comes in, is if they feel like that's something they might need to do. I would rather them just delay it, like give it to us all at once, or like I said, I could see them going to a weekly release for something this big. At that point, just give it to us like all at once in the next year or something, when they're all ready to go. I do not want this to be a mid-season break. I don't want any of that stuff. So hopefully it is just all at once, or we get those weekly releases or something like that. But I would be so disappointed if, for a show of this caliber, with as many people are going to be watching it, for it to have a mid-season break would be, I feel like, really detrimental to the show.
Well, it's not outside of the realm of possibility because it's Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
They just did part 1, 2, and 3 of the final season of Cobra Kai. So I don't think it's past them to just milk the mess out of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally probably think it will be split into 2. I agree. I don't think they should, but I think they will.
Yeah, I really hope not. I think that would be, like, we talked about it with the Invincible season break. How many people did you see talk about, like, not the people that were super into it like us, but people that were like casual watchers that enjoyed it, be like, "Oh, I forgot, that it even came back when the mid-season break was over." I feel like that kind of same thing could happen with this, and that would just be really bad, I think, for something like this. So no, this is a big one for me. I'm super pumped to see how this story ends. I do know there's been some talks of them doing some like spin-off stuff, which I think would be really interesting. But again, one of those things you don't need to do. I know it's going to print money, so it's hard not to say yes to it. But hopefully if they do stuff like that, it is done very tastefully and in a way that makes sense. But I'm so pumped for this one. This is going to be, I think, some of the most fun we will have watching TV all year.
Oh yeah, no, by far. I think this is so invested, multiple years of watching Stranger Things, and I'm very excited to see the end of this, to have it back on the screen. This has taken way too long of a break, and that makes me sad because it should have already culminated. Like, it should not have had as long of a break as it did between 3 and 4, and then definitely between 4 and 5. It's been ridiculous, but I am excited for this to come out.
This is the show I was referencing when I was talking about how it's impressive Squid Game's been able to do what they've been able to do. I mean, this has been like, this is some kids' lifetimes, right? I mean, there's been like kids coming, like, growing up in this time period, and like, all they've known is having Stranger Things in their life, so I think that's pretty funny. But no, it's been such a long time, so hopefully it's something that really ends well, and I'm excited to see how it goes. So it could crash and burn. I mean, they could make some really, really interesting takes, but I have faith in what they've done so far and the stories they've told. I think it's going to be really, really great.
No, I agree. But one that is, again, maybe one we didn't need, but that's October, and that's Marvel Zombies. Marvel Zombies is a spinoff from What If, and an episode that I didn't personally like, didn't think it was great, and they made an entire show about it. Jacob, are you excited for Marvel Zombies?
Very similar to Spider-Man and Eyes of Wakanda for me. I think it's going to be one of those things that I'm like, I'm excited for Spider-Man. I've said that. I think it's going to be fun to watch, so it's definitely still at the top of my list as far as those animated projects go. It's right there with Eyes of Wakanda for me. I don't feel like it's really necessarily needed, but it could be fun. It could be enjoyable. It could just be one of those like turn your brain off type animated shows, which are sometimes fun and enjoyable to have, where you just kind of get a cool story. You get to see some cool moments between some heroes that you love. So I'm kind of right there with this one.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't love the Marvel zombies. I feel like it's overdone. It's not necessarily one of the what if stories I want to see. Like, what if my favorite characters were turned into the zombies? I don't care. Zombies seem to be overdone at this point. I know I'm currently watching Last of Us, which may be a little hypocritical to say because I'm really enjoying that. But I just don't need Marvel zombies personally. It's fine. You can do what you want. I'm not super excited for this one.
I will say the Marvel Zombies Funko Pops are really, really cool, but yeah, that's about all I got to say about that.
Hey, maybe they'll drop some more.
I hope not. There's already enough of those things, but they are cool though.
But then finishing off the season, I'm gonna go ahead and give all three, and that is Squid Game season 3, which we talked about a little bit, Murderbot, and Wonder Man. Out of those, I know Squid Game's probably your most anticipated. How do you feel about Murderbot and Wonder Man?
I think those will be fun. I think it's just more interesting to see, the direction of those. Because I think we haven't really seen Wonder Man at all. Is this his first ever like show appearance, like even animated or anything?
I believe so. That I'm
Yeah,
aware of. He may be obscure some 1990s Marvel, but I don't know.
yeah. So I think that's going to be fun. It's just a new character that we're going to get to see. Coming into I guess it's going to be part of the MCU. I don't know if is it confirmed to be part of the MCU, or is it just going to
It
be
is. Yep, live
like its
action
own
confirmed to
spin-off
be part.
stories? What is it?
This is a live action. It is confirmed to be part of it.
Okay. Yeah, so I think it'll be cool to have a new character. I don't know much about him, so that's kind of one of the reasons why I probably am not like super stoked about this one. I'll have to see more about it, see what the trailers are. Maybe have to read a comic or something to get a little bit excited for it. But it'll be fun just to have another Marvel show to watch closing out the year.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I have no clue what to think about this one. It's interesting. I know it's like a failing artist is one of the big things, and I'm just curious. I'm curious to see what he does. So, I don't know. But Murderbot seems super interesting. A new sci-fi show on Apple Plus that they've thrown a ton of money. It looks like highly successful books. So I know everyone who reads the books loves them. So I'm curious at what they'll do with this and how much that may be a surprise show of the year. Honestly, Murderbot.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of those things that like coming fresh off of like stuff like Stranger Things and stuff. I think people are gonna be like searching for that next big thing to watch. So it might be coming out like at a really, really good time for to take over and really have people excited about like something brand new. So I think it could be good. I don't know much about it at all, so I'll have to just stay reserved for that one as well. Wait till we get a trailer or something, see how that goes. But no, I think it'll be fun just to have something new to watch that we haven't heard of before.
Yeah, and it'll definitely be a while before we see something for that. So, in summary, Jacob, I need your final most anticipated list, top 5.
Yeah, so top 5, 1 and 2 is Invincible Stranger Things. I kind of told the reason why already, why I'm not for sure which one of those I want to go with. So 1 and 2 for those. We got Andor season 2 coming in at number 3 for me. I would say number 4 is probably I think you have to go with Daredevil Born Again. I think there's so much riding on that one, so much hype and anticipation for that one. I am super excited about it. Number 5 is an interesting spot for me. I think I'll go ahead and give it to Squid Game Season 3 because it's a culmination of a story that I am tied into and I am interested to see how it develops. So I think those would probably be my top 5.
And super solid top five. Um, for me, I'm going Daredevil because I'm just so excited for him to come back. That's number one for me. Number two is Stranger Things season 5, and this one edges out Invincible and Andor because this is the culmination to one of the greatest shows that has been released in the past 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very excited to have that one back on. A 3 for me is Invincible. I just absolutely love it. It's spectacular. 4 is Andor season 2, and then sneaking into number 5. I haven't even finished the first season yet, but Last of Us, with as good as these first 4 episodes have been, I've heard people say it doesn't disappoint for the rest of the season. So I'm gonna go ahead and snag Last of Us season 2 as my 5th spot for most anticipated of the year.
Yeah, I think that's a really solid list as well. I am interested to see what story beats they do continue in The Last of Us. I think for someone that hasn't played them, that's got to be really exciting for you because you really don't have to like compare it to anything. You don't have to be like let down if they change like a big story point or anything like that. So that's gonna be really exciting to kind of see your point of view of the story and the things that you like about it, and then everybody else's that's played the games and stuff like that. So I'm excited to kind of hear that like debate between you and if you think it was like just done well because you just like the show overall, or if you do agree with some of the changes that they made once you heard of those changes. I think that'll be really cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting spot to be in because I know kind of I was in the same boat with Fallout. And even though it doesn't follow a storyline beat for beat, there was a lot of people who played the games that loved it a lot more than I did because they had that connection.
Hmm.
And so the same thing, right? I can just set that at this one, enjoy it as is. I don't have to be disappointed, but I also don't have that connection and that established familiarity with it that will up that enjoyment factor. So it is interesting. I am excited to see our discussions later this year to see how those kind of pan out to each other. But um, with that being said, dude, let's get into Creatures Commando. I cannot wait to hear what you thought. I want to hear your overall thought of the season and where you kind of put this for an animated show for you.
So one of the first things, obviously, it's animated. I think the best thing to describe and talk about a show in animated is how was the animation. And I gotta say, like as I was watching it, I always like to think like if I was doing an animated show, would I want this to be how I'd want my animated project done? And I think this is a really good one for like I really like the vibe that they put off just with the animation and stuff. So right off the bat, I'm already interested in how it looks and things like that. So that was a nice surprise. I hadn't really watched any of the trailers that I could remember. So I really kind of went into it like not really knowing how all that was going to play out. So that was really cool. I really liked the story. I thought the characters were super fun. Overall, it was just a story I didn't expect to enjoy as much as I did, or to be maybe necessarily as invested as I was. But as it continued to go, I was like, oh, this is really cool. They're really doing some good story points here. And it does feel like James Gunn is taking over as DC was one of the things I also really noticed. You kind of see his handprint on things, which is really cool and exciting for the future. So overall, I think it was just a blast. I think they did a really great job for this. I am interested. I don't know if they've confirmed a season 2 for this one. Obviously, there is room for there to be one, but I'm interested to see if that does eventually get confirmed, if it hasn't already, and what the time frame for something like that is.
Yeah, they have confirmed season 2.
Okay.
It is on the docket. And yeah, you touched on a lot of good things. And I like the animation. It's not my favorite animation style, but it is fun, it is intriguing, and it is not distracting at all.
Hmm.
And I think that's the big thing. That's the big thing in the animation style. You want it to be, pleasurable to look at. You want to make sure that you're still enjoying the show, that you're getting the story, and you're not like, that looks stupid, or, you know, just super silly things going on, or like not enough animation where it looks flat. And I think this did a really good job of not going over the top, but having some of your muted colors that you like, but still
Hmm.
having that really pop. I think of um, Radiation Man. He has such vivid, bright colors, but he's never Uh, I meant Dr. Phosphorus. Dr. Phosphorus, he's never overbearing on screen. It's always just like he's there, it's clear, and he's bright, but he's not overpowerful. So I think your animation comment is a very good one, and that he is very solid. So I like that you like the story. Now, I think one of the things that this does well that like Suicide Squad didn't, and I wanted to see what you thought about it. How did you feel about each episode having like a dedicated almost backstory for each one of the characters, and which one was your favorite?
So for me, this is something that is very essential to a show like this when you don't necessarily have you have your main characters like, but this is a very show that is very fluent in the fact that it can have a different character that does take the spotlight and you're okay with that. And I think that is super good for a show, especially for these characters that I don't know a whole lot about. I think a lot of people probably felt that same way, kind of wanting to understand where these characters come from, what their deal is, and things like that. We talk about it a lot with like Batman, Superman. We don't need to know those ones because we know what their backstory is. We've talked about that a million times. Talked about it with Spider-Man and stuff like that. This is one where I was interested to see what the backstory of these characters was, what their deal was, and all that type of stuff. So I really enjoyed that. I gotta say, my favorite character. I want to ask you if you can take a guess at who my favorite character was, because I feel like it's pretty obvious, but I don't know if maybe I'm just like thinking it is, and it's not as obvious as it is in my brain.
Oh, I feel like Frankenstein was your favorite.
No, it wasn't. Do you want to take a second guess?
GI Robot?
Yeah, G.I. Robot. I loved his character. I thought he was so cool. My favorite scene I just want to talk about is when is it Rick Flag Sr. He's like they're pinned down and he looks at G.I. Robot, he's like these are Nazis, and he gets like this smile on his face. Dude, I loved that scene. I thought that was so funny. Like this show has a lot of that in it, which I really appreciated. So I thought the each episode having its own story was really, really fun. So I did enjoy that aspect of it.
Yeah, I think that benefited the show drastically, especially for me who I don't know any of these characters. I know some
Mhm.
people like knew Weasel's story, and I had no clue what Weasel's story was. So when we got Weasel's story, I was like, daggum, poor Weasel, dude. He's just like had the worst luck
Yeah.
like possible. That sucks. Um, so and then you kind of get to see Dr. Phosphorus's backstory, which is so tragic and crazy. I don't think his character today kind of aligns up. It's crazy how drastically different he is from when he started his story. He's one of the only ones who seems to almost have lost his entirety of himself. He was playing toss with the girl in the backyard, and that was like kind of the show that he still has some similarity of himself. He still does have that fatherly attitude, but for the most part, dude, he's gone.
Mhm.
He is like the one that I think is like turned into a true monster completely, because I think they were trying to show the humanity of these outcasts, these
For
monsters,
sure.
even though they are monsters on the outside, to show that deep roots of humanity and what they really have gone through to get here. And, I think for him, he's a monster through and through because he did have the most tragic backstory. Um, it was really hard to kind of watch that and kind of see him, have his hands rubbed through his wife's blood and put on the murder weapon that killed his daughter, and framed for it, and then put into his own science experiment and get his, pretty much radiated completely. Oh man, that was a hard episode to watch. And then to know that he got captured by Batman, which makes his backstory even cooler. We get to theorize about him, and the excitement that like we have a Batman in this universe already. We don't know him, we don't know his style, but he's here, he's present, he's active, which I think is awesome. And he's able to capture people like Dr. Phosphorus who have a crazy level of power. He is the most
Mhm.
powerful one in the group by far, not even close. So I think that's pretty sick. And you touched on GI Robot. GI Robot's backstory was really cool. I really loved it. I loved that he thought he had a friend, and that dude, then he's a Nazi. What? I didn't see
I
it
know.
coming. I loved it, dude. It was
Yeah.
so cool.
No, I think
Um,
this was a great one. And I obviously I feel like they probably took some inspiration from it, but I got very X-Men vibes from this. They were people that did still have very real like feelings about things, and they weren't really that you said they tried to show the humanity of it, and we saw that a lot in X-Men '97, especially recently, where a lot of people want them gone because they're different, but they are still at the end of the day they are people, and they're still trying to like do what's best for everybody. They're not fully just worried about themselves. They're not evil people just because they're different. And I thought that was really kind of a cool thing to see in like the DC set of eyes.
yeah, and it was also interesting. So I kind of break away from that aspect and underwriting of it, but like the world building. We touched on Batman there for a
Hmm.
second, but like even like the metahumans that came into the brothel, like that's just two dudes that have metahuman powers that like are complete unknowns. So the world that we're getting in this DC universe is a powerful one.
Yes.
That is kind of crazy to think of that's just walking around no problems. It's not out of the norm. And we've never seen a universe in TV or shows be that developed. And so I'm very interested to see how James Gunn plays that out, especially as he interweaves other stories together. I think this one's going to be crucial. We are definitely going to have a fight between the U.S. and I'm blanking on the name of the city. Is it
Oh, I am
Pakistan?
too.
Pakistan?
Yes. Yes, something like that.
Um, so something along that. So we're gonna have a war or something about that, and I
Yeah.
think Gorilla Grog could be at play in this potentially. So, and a crazy twist at the end. Man, I really didn't quite see that coming. Did you see that coming?
No, not necessarily. But one thing I did want to touch back on real quick, what I was excited to talk about, you brought up the Batman thing and how he was able to capture a level of, I guess, power as Dr. Phosphorus was. I think that's really exciting for what type of Batman we're going to be getting. I'm a huge Batman fan. I really like him. He's probably my favorite DC superhero. Obviously not super well known and well versed in the DC stuff, but from what I know, I love Batman. So I'm super excited just to see what level of Batman we're going to be getting. And I think that's very interesting, as we start to continue to see who's going to be casted for him and stuff like that. We've heard things about who is the character his name that plays Reacher.
Alan Richard
Yes, I mean we've heard
Rickson.
rumblings of someone like him being Batman and things like that, and that's kind of got me more so thinking like we really might be something along those lines of a more big hulking Batman that is capable of doing some stuff and having some power himself. So I think that's going to be super exciting just to kind of see develop as we continue our DC watch of watching this whole world come together.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. Batman in the comics can like bench press 1,000 pounds.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like he's pretty inhuman. like like
Oh, that's what I want. Like, don't take it as like that's not what that's what I want. Like, I want to see him like go toe to toe with some of these crazy strong people. It's gonna make it so much more fun, and it's gonna make it like all make sense. Like, I feel like if it's kind of like we talk about all the time. Like, Superman is so much stronger than so many other people, and so when you have these like comics and these stories of Batman versus Superman, it really doesn't make sense for Batman to really even be able to put up a fight unless he gets his hands on kryptonite or something like that. So I would really like for it to be one of those things where you're like, oh, you know what? Based off what we've seen, I can kind of believe it.
yeah, and at least have his moment to shine. Like I never expect him to
Yeah.
win, but like at least like okay, like do something.
Hmm.
And I think he will be able to do that. But yeah, no, he such fun world building. And then do you think the war's going to break out and that this is leading directly into Superman or no?
I've kind of I kind of had some thoughts because we do see a little bit of that in the trailer that we got for Superman in the teaser. We know something big is getting ready to go down. We kind of see that I think we see it isn't it in a news clip in the teaser trailer like what is happening that happened in Creature Commandos.
Yes.
Yeah, so I definitely think I don't know how much it's going to lead like directly into it. I definitely see it having quite an impact though.
Yeah. Which makes me so much more excited for Superman. I'm just very excited to continue to get to see this world. I don't know. It's Creatures Commando. I wasn't excited for it. It wasn't on my top list. I didn't think I would like it, and I did. I really enjoyed it. I was weird. I thought it was weird, the sexual content in the animated show.
Yeah.
Didn't really love that aspect of it, and I know that Peacemaker also has some MA qualities that I'm not really thrilled about. We dipped out of watching that show, so that worries me going forward with how many of these shows James Gunn is going to just go ahead and rate that and just make them more mature. But other than that, this got me very excited for the DC.
Yeah, I think he's really kind of putting on display his world building capabilities, and this one really had it in full effect. I feel like there was not a lot of things, like obviously you have your questions and stuff about things, but a lot of things just made sense. Like I was comfortable with the way he was telling things, the way things were happening. All that stuff was cool to me. So I'm excited for it. We've been talking about how excited we are just for DC to be a thing again, so that we can really kind of like fully dive into it. I know you've dove into it a lot more than I have. But for me, this is just such an exciting time, having a brand new thing to talk about with DC, having it be, a new thing that we haven't had to watch anything else for. We can kind of just watch it all develop. That's going to be super fun. So it continues to get me excited. I'm just super pumped.
Yeah. And I'm glad you watched it. I'm glad you enjoyed Creatures Commando. I was worried you wouldn't. I I had such a good time with it, and then you recommend something to somebody and then they just hate it. I thought there was a potential for that because there has been things that I really like that you don't like. But I'm glad you liked it. Now, I also am very interested to see if we see any more Cersei. Uh, and if she comes back, they had a pretty big actress from The Witcher do Cersei, like her voice.
Mhm.
So I'm curious if they're gonna cast. It's Anya Shalartra.
She
She's the
plays
main
Yennefer.
lead. Yeah, Yennefer.
Mhm.
So I'm curious to see if she's going to be the live action casting of this. You know, I don't know. And then if we get David Harbour as a live action
Uh,
Frankenstein, that
yeah.
would be pretty cool.
No,
So,
that'd be super cool.
uh, but yeah, they had a great cast for this, and I had a really good time with it.
Yeah, I think there's so much potential for this one. It's got everything is on the wall for this to be good. Like I just really want it to end up panning out to be one of those things we look back on and we're excited we got to be a part of the new DC. So I think they've got a lot of things heading in the right direction. It's gonna be fun for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I don't wanna labor this episode any longer. I've had a blast talking about these and our excitement for it this year. And next week we could potentially be breaking down a little Severance for you guys. Seeing if Jacob gets to watch some of the first season, what he likes. I'll probably have hopefully finished and uh, Last of Us season 1. So exciting week, and might have something else for you guys. Who knows? Jacob, you got anything before we sign off?
No man, I'm excited. We're getting into some crazy times for the year. Finally starting to see some things get closer and closer. It's gonna be really fun to just hit everything up, man. I'm so excited for this year. I think it's gonna be just a great one overall for all the shows, movies. It's gonna be fun. It's already off to a great start, so I can't be anything but excited for it.
Absolutely. Well, guys, you hear it here first. If there's a TV show or movie that you're excited for that we didn't mention, like last week, we didn't mention the F1 movie with Brad Pitt that is going to do very well at the box office. I just overlooked it in my list. That was on me. But call us out on that stuff. So if there's a TV show that you like, hey guys, you need to check this out this year. Like it's worth a watch, worth a pickup. Let us know, and we'd be happy to add it to our list. Check it out if when we get time, and we're excited to hit us up on Instagram, X, Discord. Join the Discord, get in the conversation, and let's talk about some movies. All right, we'll catch you guys in the next one.